Before you hear this story, let me warn you. Sometimes the quietest towns hide the bloodiest secrets. Tonight, they'll be revealed by someone who knows far more than he should, the Sinister Gnome. Listen closely. He's about to begin.
Morning in this town always started the same way. A flat, gray light, cold as a refrigerator lid, spilled across the empty street. A bread truck growled beside the grocery store. The gas station sighed in the wind, and above the butcher shop flicked on a red neon frame. Harlow's Meats. Tom Harlow arrived before anyone else. He slid the heavy bar lock aside, unhooked the chain, as if letting some large frozen breath escape. He flipped on the lights. White tiles flared clean and bright, leaving no space for shadows to hide. He loved that moment. Everything was exactly where it belonged. Steel hooks, cutting boards, knives sharpened to the same pale shine. The waterproof apron folded with military precision. The walk-in smelled not like blood, but like iron. Tom had words for smells. Iron, fat, wet rope, wet concrete. Blood only had a smell when something was done wrong. Tom didn't do things wrong. He set a paper cup of coffee on the hot plate, dumped in too much sugar, just like everyone in this town, trying to drown out the empty taste. He sipped and turned the radio on. The hum of faraway news bounced off the tiles and died. In these walls, nothing outside really existed. By 8 a.m., a farm truck pulled up with 2 hog halves, ordered in advance. The driver, a young, tanned kid with a baseball cap tan line, helped carry them in. He smiled the way only people who haven't yet learned how empty the world can be smile. Tom nodded and signed. "Stay on the main road and off the shoulder," Tom said. "Yes, sir," the kid replied. The first customers came as always. A school teacher with 2 bags, a mechanic in an orange vest, a woman with a stroller who wanted the fat trimmed thinner because her husband was too sensitive. Tom listened and worked. His hands moved with quiet precision, machine-like, but without the noise. He didn't like talking about meat. He liked cutting it. The town had a name, technically, but it didn't matter. Just another way station between 2 places that mattered more. A gas pump, a motel, a cafe open sign, a convenience store selling everything and nothing, and a butcher shop. People stopped here to wait out a storm or to sleep one night. People disappeared here, and no one asked much about them. Sometimes Tom noticed faces. Truckers had pale circles where sunglasses sat. Tourists spoke fast, always something quick, something for the grill. Seasonal workers' hands were cracked like cardboard. These faces evaporated like condensation on glass, not because someone erased them, but because that's how the road works. The road takes. It never promises to return. Tom kept cutting. He knew how amateurs cut. Nervous, slow, always pulling away. And he knew how professionals cut. Straight lines, trusting anatomy like a map. A body was honest machinery. If you didn't talk too much, it opened up easily. Around noon, the town deputy stepped in. Not a sheriff, just a worn-out man with a deputy patch. Name, Sloan. Puffy lips, tired eyes that belonged to this street as much as the asphalt. He bought 2 ribs and said jokingly, "Always so fresh, Tom. You hiding some secret supplier in the basement?" Tom gave a thin smile. "If I had a secret supplier, I wouldn't be living above the shop." Sloan snorted. "Above the shop is above the money. That's what they say here. That's what people say when they talk too much," Tom said calmly. Sloan would forget this conversation. He always forgot. The town was quiet. Quiet was its uniform. If it tore, everyone hurried to stitch it shut. By evening, a woman came in. Dark hair, 2 rings, eyes scanning the display the way someone checks a child's room before bed, making sure everything is where it should be. "I need a pound of ground beef, and something for soup." "Knee joint," Tom said. "Slow simmer." She nodded. Tom measured it precisely, wrapped it. For a moment, His finger brushed a cold patch of cartilage, cold like deep water that smells of iron and emptiness. "You always keep it so clean in here," she said, almost apologetically. "Clean board, sharp knife," Tom replied, "and the other way around." She left. Tom watched the door as one watches a mirror that reflects nothing. When darkness settled on the roof like an old pigeon, Tom went upstairs. Small room, bed, radio, a window overlooking dumpsters. He sat, listened to the street, footsteps, a laugh from the motel, a ventilation fan humming on the grocery roof. He lay back without closing his eyes and felt the cold rise from the floor. The walk-in downstairs hummed perfectly. A perfect hum was a perfect life. He slept. His dreams weren't about blood. Never. His dreams were about silence. Silence you could slice into strips, stack neatly, wrap in brown paper, and hand to someone. They'd take it and say, "Thank you," and they'd be right. 3 days after a strong windstorm, the gas station hung a new banner. Weekend grill sale. Traffic increased. People Tom didn't know stopped in. Travelers, tourists, those who typed "meat" into a map app and followed the arrow straight to the neon sign. They talked fast, laughed loud, reeked of deodorant and distant cities. Tom smiled thinly and cut precisely. At noon, the same woman returned, with her teenage son this time. Tall kid, sugary drink in one hand, headphones in both ears. She asked for patties. "We have guests." Tom ground the meat twice, added just enough fat to hold shape. He watched the grinder noise swallow every unnecessary thought. "You don't say much," she said suddenly. "Meat likes when you're quiet," Tom said. "That's when it listens to the knife." She didn't get it, smiled weakly, left. That evening, Tom locked up, shutting down the lights row by row. The door spring squeaked. He liked that sound. "We're done. See you tomorrow." He turned the key. Footsteps. A man, work boots covered in cement dust, a backpack, tired, friendly face. A traveler. "Sorry," he said. "You closed already?" "Almost. Could really use something for dinner. I'm working a construction job here. Maybe a couple patties?" Tom studied his hands for one quiet second. A vein knot on the wrist, a pale scar, no ring. He opened the door. "Come in." The smell of iron welcomed the man like an acquaintance. Tom turned on a single row of lights, enough to erase shadows. He formed the patties, wrapped them. "You stay late a lot?" the man asked. "Sometimes. It's quiet." "That's good." "Yeah, quiet is." He didn't finish. Took the bag. "Thanks, sir." "Good luck," Tom said, closing the door. Next evening, the woman returned, pale, lips tight, a plastic bag in her hands crinkled from the pressure of her grip. Her voice was barely there. "I cooked the patties yesterday." Tom nodded. "And?" She unwrapped a piece of butcher paper, carefully, like medical gauze. "I found this." In her palm lay a small, light yellow object with a faint crown. A tooth. Human. Her son stared at the floor as if gas prices were suddenly fascinating. He didn't want to meet any eyes, not even his own reflection. Tom looked at the tooth the way a craftsman looks at a dropped screwdriver. The shop fell silent, except for the ticking of the clock above the door. "I understand," Tom said eventually. "Let me replace your order. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Probably chipped off from a bone surface when we—" "That's a tooth," she whispered. "A human tooth." "Any dentists in your family?" Tom asked gently. "What does that have to do?" "They'd identify it better than I would." He spoke evenly, kindly. His voice could calm a frightened dog. She blinked, panicked, suffocating on a truth she didn't want. I'll come back," she said. "With someone." "As you wish," Tom replied. When they left, he went to the walk-in. The door closed behind him softly, like a palm over a mouth. He stood in the cold, breathing in the iron. He didn't think. Thinking leads to mistakes. He simply looked at the hooks, lined like a perfect row of teeth. Perfect rows meant order. Order kept the world from falling apart. He returned to the counter, washed his hands as if water could erase the sound stuck somewhere between his ribs. That night he turned off the lights, climbed upstairs, sat on the bed, hands on his knees, waiting. When a town wants to speak, it speaks through footsteps. Footsteps came 40 minutes later. A car engine, doors, voices, not trying to be quiet. Silence is glass. If you break it fully. The door swung open with a hollow click. 3 people came in. Sloane, another deputy, and the woman. Sloane looked at Tom with a face that wanted to be stern, but was too used to being tired. "Tom Harlow," he said. "We need to search the premises. We have a warrant." Tom nodded. "Of course." He stepped aside, letting them pass. "Where are the coolers?" the second deputy asked. "Right there," Tom said. They entered the white room. The cold greeted them indifferently. Chest-mounted flashlights clicked on. Their breath rose like tiny ghosts. Metal clinked. One deputy accidentally brushed a hook. "Check the tags," Sloane said. His voice wavered. He stared at the rows of meat. Perfect cuts, textbook shapes. Nothing unusual, nothing wrong. The woman stood just outside, trembling at the threshold, part cold, part terror. Her eyes darted from hook to hook, searching for an answer she already believed. "What's this bone?" the younger deputy asked, shining his light on a long, clean arc of bone. "Lamb," Tom said. "Where are your waste containers?" "Left side, closed bins." They inspected, whispered, wrote in a notebook. Their movements had the awkward confidence of tourists pretending they weren't lost in a forest. Tom stood in the doorway, hands loose at his sides. Then Sloane nodded to the woman. "Ma'am, are you sure?" He couldn't finish. There was no point asking. The woman raised her hand. A small evidence bag dangled between her fingers. Inside, the tooth. It clicked softly against the plastic. "It was in the meat," she whispered. We didn't tell my son. Her voice broke. Sloane looked away. He always looked away when the town showed its real face. He suddenly realized he was crushing his own hat in his hand. "Tom," Sloane said, "we need to—" And then Tom smiled. Not widely. A thin, sliced smile, like a narrow line of fat on the edge of a cut. He stepped a bit forward from the cold white light, as if emerging from behind glass. His voice came out soft, paper whispering under a knife. "Take any knife," he said. "Check the cuts. They're perfect." Sloane said nothing. The younger deputy's hand drifted toward his holster. Tom looked at them the way a butcher looks at customers, calm, uninterested. He tilted his head slightly, as if evaluating a display. Then he looked at the woman. Her eyes had the same pleading glow people have outside a hospital door. Please let this not be ours. He knew that look. He'd seen it many times. The shop went so silent you could hear a drop of water land somewhere and find its home. Tom spoke almost in a whisper. No drama, just a simple announcement, like stating today's special. Go on, he said. Try it. Tonight's meat is a good man. A short pause. His eyes glinted. A good man today, without sin.